Hey guys, welcome back to Zeke's Oboe. So in today's video we're going to do something a little bit different and kind of extreme. So Mozart only wrote one oboe concerto, and it's fantastic and I love it. But I thought, you know what would be more fun? To experiment and explore all his other concertos. So today I've narrowed it down to about 6 or 7 concertos, and these are considered one of his best. And I'm going to be playing for them for you guys and seeing how they sound on oboe. If I like it, maybe I'll learn one of them, who knows, but I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to start off with some flute ones, and then they'll progressively get harder because I'm going to have to transpose the clarinet one and the horn, and then violins also on another realm and category of itself. So let's get started. Alright, so for the first concerto, I'm going to be reading Mozart's Flute Concerto in D major, and this is basically the same concerto as the oboe one. If you guys know, Mozart wasn't a fan of the flutes, so he basically rewrote the oboe concerto for flute in another key. And this is just going to be a good warm-up for me. I'll see how well I do playing in another key. I've only done this like once, and yeah, this is just basically a warm-up. So it's basically the same as the oboe concerto. Obviously the fingerings are a lot different, so I'd have to work on this to really get it down. But I'm not going to spend too much time because most of you guys have either heard the flute one or the oboe one, so we're going to move on. Alright, so for the second piece, I chose Mozart's Flute Concerto in G major. So this one is going to be more of a challenge. I've listened to it a couple times, and I think it's a great piece. I'll just play a little bit and see what you guys think. Okay, yeah, so this concerto is wonderful. I love it. Technically and difficult-wise, it's not as hard as the last one, but it does have beautiful moments, and an overall score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, just because the technical aspects of it aren't as tricky as the previous concerto, and I'm sure if I spent a few hours on it, I could get some of the harder passages down. But, like I said, I'm sight reading all this, so I know this is not my best performance. Alright, so the third piece I'm going to be playing is Mozart's Clarinet Concerto. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. It's probably one of his most popular ones. So I did a little bit of transposing already, and I'm going to be playing it. And yeah, I hope you guys like it. So this one's actually very lovely. I just wish I was better at transposing and could play more of it, because right now it's kind of, this is as far as I got. But overall, I think this piece definitely has a lot of intricate moments, and yeah, beautiful passages. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, and yeah, maybe one day I'll finish transposing it or become a better transposer and can play the whole thing. But yeah. Alright, so for the fourth piece, I decided to do Mozart's Horn Concerto No. 4. So this is going to be my best interpretation of it on the oboe. Alright, this movement actually has a lot of potential. I feel like it's hard to rate these without playing them completely through. Of course, I've transposed all of it, and I think I'd put it up there with the Clarinet Concerto, but just under, so like 7.5. I think there's a lot of beautiful moments. The first movement really hits hard and goes off. So, if anything, I would probably spend most of my time learning the first movement. So, yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Alright, so for the fifth concerto I chose was Mozart's Flute, Harp, and Orchestra Concerto. If you're a flutist, you'll probably recognize this piece, but this is like my first time hearing it, and I think it's wonderful. Alright, so I personally love this concerto. I think it's just very special and very elegant. This is a beautiful one because there's not many harp and flute concertos out there. So yeah, I just think this is a cool concerto. I'd probably put it up there with the Clarinet Concerto, so an 8 out of 10. I'm sure there's still a better one yet to be found, so I'm gonna keep going on. Alright, so for our sixth concerto, I chose Mozart's Piano Concerto, and this is his 24th piano concerto. And the reason I chose a piano concerto, you may be asking, why did I choose a piano concerto when I can only play one line on the oboe? Great question. Most of this piece is able to be played on the oboe, so I thought this was a perfect fit, and you'll hear why in a little bit. So yeah, I chose this piece because I can play it on the oboe, and we're gonna see how well it sounds. So we've come to my roadblock right here, and yeah, it gets way harder from here on out. But yeah, this concerto actually is very lovely, and I wish the oboe. It's times like this where I wish the oboe could play more than one note, because I would love to just hear all the chords as it's supposed to be played. But the parts that you were able to hear that sounded wonderful on this instrument were actually magnificent. I love his phrases and melodies, and I love minor keys. So I think this concerto, it's hard. These are all these concertos are just hard to compare because they're all really great, and they all have their own unique intricacies and certain sparks and moments of what parts Mozart wants to shine and how he wants to highlight the instrument. So it's really hard to compare, but I think I would put it up there with the Flute and Harp Concerto, and the Clarinet Concerto. So an 8 out of 10. Anyways, let's move on to our final one. Alright, so here's our final concerto. I'm doing the Violin Concerto number 3, and I'm going to do a little bit at the beginning. I know there's some chords that are impossible to play. I'm going to do my best, improvise on the oboe. We'll see how it works. And then I'm going to try reading the cadenza. Alright, let's give it a shot. Right, now with the cadenza. Honestly, I think this one's probably one of the best ones I've played today, and very technical. I think there's just a lot of like liberty and that you don't get in some of the other concertos, and yeah, I really find this cadenza pretty tough, but also really fun. So honestly, I think this would be a fun concerto to work on. Also, I'll give this a 8.5 out of 10 because I really love this one, and I think I might even spend a little bit of time working on this one in the future. Alright guys, so there you have it. This is Zeke's oboe playing some of Mozart's other instrumental concertos on the oboe. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know there's a lot of me playing and a lot of mistakes, but I thought this was just a fun exercise to try to experiment what it'd be like to play some of Mozart's more famous concertos that you normally don't get to hear on another instrument. And if you guys have any other suggestions or ideas of what you'd like me to do in the future or in another video, please comment down below, and I would love to do it. I always read the comments, and I find some inspiration from a few comments that I read here and there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to share, comment, and if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be posting a lot of videos more frequently now that it's summer. So hope you guys stay tuned, and I can't wait till next time.